Hi, I'm Jonathan J, and welcome to dealmakers.co.uk, the number one place for business buying information. Now, would you like to know how to build a 16 million revenue business in just 2 years? Well, my special guest today, Adam, is going to show you exactly how he did that. And Adam started with a free training course that you can access today. And there is a link somewhere on this screen. You click the link, you take the video course, and you can learn the essentials of buying a business. So let's meet Adam. So Adam, I want to hear the whole story. You got into acquisitions, I believe, after meeting me, or after
Correct.
Sort of listening possibly to this podcast and watching some videos. So what's your background, and at what point did you say to yourself, buying a business sounds like a great idea?
Well, Jonathan, I'm kind of one of those statistics, unfortunately. Is it something like 90% of startups fail? Well,
yeah, quite possibly. Yeah,
well,
most of them.
100% of my startups did. So,
Okay.
Effectively, always wanted to do my own thing. Always wanted to run my own business. Tried several different things. Did the kind of, information marketing stuff back in the early 2000s. All that good stuff. And everything I tried just didn't work. And I don't know how I came across you, but was on YouTube and just kind of went down the YouTube rabbit hole as you do. And next thing you know, I'm watching videos from yourself talking about acquisitions. And other people on YouTube talk about acquisitions and things like that. But the way you were talking about acquisitions was kind of different to how other people talk about it. Okay. So, other people are talking about, kind of leverage buyouts, all this kind of stuff. And for somebody that's never run a business before properly, that's just kind of over my head. But you were saying to us, effectively, you can buy a business. You can probably buy it with no money down, and I can show you how. The skeptic in me thought, is this too good to be true? Sure. And yeah, I just kind of started to consume your content. And then obviously you mentioned about one of your courses. I think it was the quick start or something? Is the
fast track?
Fast track.
Yeah.
So did that for the day, and then enrolled on the kind of the course for the 12 months.
The mastermind.
Yeah. And again, probably not how it should be done, but didn't do anything for about 3 or 4 months. And basically that was just down to fear. I was just
Sure.
afraid.
Yeah. No. You know what? You're not alone, because it does take courage to take that first step. And certainly when you're in the mastermind environment, you've got the support and the community. Yeah. But despite that, you can still take a little while to get going.
And I think the thing is as well, the great thing with the mastermind is you're kind of forced into action, because if you attend regularly, every month going to the meetings and stuff like that, there's nothing worse than sitting there and basically doing nothing while somebody that enrolled at the same time of you has, built a business group or bought...
It's funny you should say that, because I've just interviewed someone who was on Mastermind 5 years ago.
Right, okay.
And he just said exactly the same thing.
Yeah, and it's true. And I remember Phil, Phil, who did that amazing deal with the haulage company and stuff like that. I was thinking, bloody hell, why aren't I doing it? Do you know what I mean? I was like, right, let's get some letters out. And Jonathan, honestly, I laugh now, but it's just like you say, just do it. Just send your letters out and just get going. And
people will phone you. Have the conversation. Say the right things.
100%. And I'm going to tell you now, I'm probably the same as everybody else that's never done this before. When that first call came through, I absolutely hashed that call up. It was a call I never wanted to repeat again. It wasn't very good. The guy never rang me back, and we never did the deal. But you do learn. So, I always say, in order to become an expert at something, you've got to apply time, dedication, and you've also got to be a student, And theory's great, but you've got to put it into practice. And yeah, I would probably say my first 20 conversations weren't like the conversations I have today. But I had to have those 20 conversations to get to the kind of...
Yeah, there's a learning curve for everyone. Yeah. And I think that the people who take that learning curve or go through that learning curve in the environment that you are in come out of it better than people who have no support mechanism at all.
100%. And, I'm not somebody with a polished business career. So literally I started off as a rookie. I really did. And, I'd been in employment, I hadn't kind of had any success behind me as such. And I just followed what you kind of told us to do. And you've not paid me to be here, I promise you. And I've just followed what you told us to do. And surprise, surprise, it works.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's all I can say.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So let's look at some of the things that you've said. So with the benefit of hindsight, I'm curious as to why you think those startups didn't get going in the way you wanted them to.
I mean, in Mastermind, you talk about a deal team. Mm-hmm. You talk about a deal team, but also the business, the group, whatever you're building, it needs a solid team as well. So you have your acquisition team, but you also need a solid team to run a business, I believe. And, I'm not an expert at finance. I'm not an expert at managing sales teams. I'm not an expert at marketing. No experience of this stuff. And I think when you're in startup mode, probably because you don't have a great deal of funds, you're everything. I'm an accountant. I'm a lawyer.
Because there's no one else.
There's no one else.
And also, when you're the founder, you feel as though you need to do everything. There is that sense of because you don't want to sort of get other people. You don't want anyone to do it better than you as well.
Exactly, and it's very hard to let go.
Yes, it is.
And you're effectively, when you're in startup mode, I believe, unless you're a unicorn, you're buying a really badly paid job. Do you know what I mean? Because
absolutely,
the hours are long. You're probably not going to get paid what you're worth or paid at all. And you just become fatigued. And, I tried everything. I tried 5 or 6 different things. And I think just because it was me, no experience, it didn't work. And then, as I said, started consuming your content and looking at kind of some reviews from past students and things like that you had on YouTube. And you're thinking, do you know what? This sounds like a shortcut. But then obviously the cynic in me is like, too good to be true. Can this really happen?
It's very easy for us to talk ourselves out of things, even if they're good
100%.
for us.
Yeah, 100%.
I talk myself out of exercise on a daily basis. So
as you can see, so do I. But you're right. And the thing is, I just couldn't get my head around why someone would sell their business to me for no money up front, over a deferred period, why someone would do that. And I now know why someone would do that. Because I've probably had conversations with hundreds of business owners since working with you, and I haven't done hundreds of deals. I've done a good amount of deals, but probably about over 100 business owners, and everyone's reason for exiting is their own. They're different, but they do follow certain themes, and you discussed this on Mastermind. People are just tired. They just had enough. No succession planning. Ill health, there's a number of things, and sometimes a business just needs it's like buying a rundown house, just needs a fresh lick of paint,
yes,
new eyes, and then you breathe life back into it. Do you know what I mean? And every deal I've done has been in the format that you say works. Every deal I've done has been deferred. I don't think. Let me think. No, I've not paid anything up front for a business. I was going to pay an amount up front for a deal that I've just completed on. Anyway, transpired through due diligence actually that it wasn't feasible for us to do so we didn't. So I've got a 100% record on kind of taking businesses on a deferred basis, and it works very well.
Very good. So, but are these tiny businesses though? I mean, that's the question I think some people will be asking in their minds. Is this like a sort of a business that turns over £50,000 that you managed to scoop up? Okay,
so I'll again, and I promise you've not given me something to say before I've kind of come in to see you today.
Right.
But what you said on Mastermind was, buy a small business. Typically, you're going to buy yourself a job because it just doesn't have the infrastructure to support management teams, etc. My first acquisition was an asset purchase. I think it was about £55,000. There was 2 staff. It didn't even turn over 150,000.
Okay.
I gave that business away because it was just an absolute bloody headache. I was spending probably a good part of my week, 30 hours a week, on this piddly little thing over here, and it was just problem after problem after problem. And again, I seem to have to do everything the hard way. I do it the way my head tells me because I'm fearful actually of change. I'm fearful of, I just thought that I couldn't speak to a business owner that turned over £1 million or something like that. and they'd be prepared to sell.
So these are limiting beliefs, aren't
Yeah,
they?
yeah,
So
100%.
these are things that we tell ourselves, which actually do limit ourselves. We don't realise they limit ourselves.
They do.
And it takes someone else often to point it out and say,
Yeah.
do you realise, Adam, that
Yeah.
you're in this cycle here. You're stuck in this cycle where you do the same thing again and again.
Yeah.
But if you did this differently, you'd get a different result.
And that's it. And sorry, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, but again, on Mastermind, a mirror's held up to you. Do you know what I mean? And as I was saying, so bought this little tiddly business, and it was just like, why am I doing this? And I remember you weren't talking to me, but you were talking to somebody else on Mastermind. You were like, why don't you just go for something bigger?
Buying a business is just so rewarding. And I put together a free training showing you exactly how I do it. If you look in the video description below this video, there is a link. You click the link, you're taken through to the training, watch the training, and I'll show you exactly how to buy a business successfully. That sounds like the sort of thing I'd say.
Yeah. Why don't you just do something, and you were 100% right. It takes exactly the same amount of effort to buy something big as it does small. And actually, when you buy something bigger, you're probably not going to have the headaches that come with a smaller business. So in answer to your question, first one, very small, and it was just a pain. Everything thereafter has kind of been your 500,000s, and then I kind of edged up to about 1 million, edged up to about 2 million. And, over the course of about 18 months, we built a group of businesses that in the insolvency sector, which I was operating in, that turned over 16 million quid. And
now here's a question for you then. It's a slightly loaded question, but if you took one of your startups and tried to get it to 16 million of annual revenue, how long do you think that would have taken you?
Well, based on my track record, it wouldn't have happened. So
fair enough. Good answer.
So I could only go based on experience, and
yeah.
it wouldn't have happened. And we built that up to, as I said, a 16 million pound turnover business. We bought a couple of law firms, and that business is on track. So, with the way we've kind of sorted things out, we've attracted investment, things like that. That's going to be turnover about £1 million a month.
Oh, right. That's pretty good.
So, as I said, kind of we've built a group that it's not quite done yet, but, certainly 16 million turnover in the insolvency business, and potentially £1 million a month in the legal firm. And this is all kind of in 2 years.
And in a 2-year time frame is absolutely incredible. Now, if I was listening to this,
Sorry.
I might say, okay, Adam, it sounds too good to be true. What's the secret? Because what have you done that is so special that's allowed you to do this?
Well, I can certainly say, I'm not kind of a guy that runs on his ego or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I am nothing special. I haven't got a university degree. I'm certainly not the come out of school kind of like an entrepreneur. I never ran a tuck shop and turned it into a bloody, enterprise like Richard Branson. Just I think I just applied myself. And
yes.
And Jonathan, I was, for the first 3 months of working with you, 4 months. Sorry, no, first 3 months, I did nothing. And, it's that old adage, isn't it? Insanity is the act of doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting a different result.
So what was the turning point then? So 3 months of inactivity, watching, listening to other people.
Yeah.
What was the turning point that made you say, I've now got to do this?
Well, it was coming to Mastermind, sitting down on the chair, and somebody that's been on the same enrolled on the course the same time as me. Next thing you know, he's just bought a business for £1 million with no money down. And you're like, how's that happened? Next thing you know, turning up in a very nice car. And you're like, wow, I can barely afford the train fare down.
Right. So it's seeing other people doing it,
yeah, but also,
and thinking, if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
I need to sort this out.
But also, Jonathan, you talk about your trials and tribulations. You didn't come out the womb a success. It's something that you've incrementally grown over the years, and you've become a very successful man.
That I've only actually remembered today, because it was something that someone else said. I did actually run the tuck shop at school.
Well,
and I tell you what it was. I saw in the cafe just down the road, I saw a packet of crisps for £1.50.
I've just seen the same.
Yeah. And I looked at that and I thought, that's very expensive for a packet of crisps. I remember when they were 10p. And that's made me realise that I had this idea of having a tuck shop at school, because there wasn't one.
Yeah.
And I went to whoever I went to and I said, look, I'll get all the... I'll buy the box of crisps from the wholesaler.
Yeah.
And I did it. And I can't actually remember whether the money belonged to the school or whether it was my money. Which is strange, I can't remember. I cannot remember. But I remember every break time being so incredibly busy. But we're off the point here. But and what was the point that we were making? I can't remember where we were at.
Oh yeah, so I was saying, I said, when you share your story of how you started and all that kind of stuff, you weren't born a success. You applied yourself, and very successful man now, and that's inspirational, and and just kind of telling people like me, you can do it, but you've got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very simple words, but sometimes very hard to implement. And
so it's interesting. So maybe sometimes it is as straightforward as saying to someone, "Come on, you can do this. This is what you need to do. Go away and do it." And I'll see you next month.
Yeah. That's it. And
a little bit of pressure.
And I think we've seen it in Mastermind. You're always banging on about 1,000 letters, and you're like, oh well, can I manage the influx of calls? Have I got the right envelopes? Have I got the right paper?
Do I sign it in a blue ink or a black ink?
And like literally, it's just bloody do it.
Yes.
And are you prepared? There's no amount of training you can do to somebody who has never kind of been in this situation before to prepare them for that first call. You do a very good job of it, but unless you're sat there with them saying, "Now say this."
Yeah, well, it's like swimming, isn't it? You can tell someone what it's like to swim. You can show them how to move their arms, but getting in the water for the first time is when you really learn.
And it's all theory up until that point.
Yes.
And I think that's a great analogy. And it's very much like sink or bloody swim. And you're on the phone with a business owner that's seen your letter. Something's going on because they're calling you. And the only way I found that I could kind of hone and refine this is by doing.
Yes.
And like I said, the first 20 calls were horrendous. Now they're not so bad.
I'm sure they weren't all horrendous.
No, they weren't all horrendous.
There's a hockey curve, isn't there?
Yeah.
Or a hockey stick curve of they're terrible at the beginning and then they get better and better and better.
And it's just like it honestly is just like you say it is. It's just like, look, you're going to get some people that probably are just going to time waste. They feel their business is worth £10 million, but it only turns over 100,000, and you're going to get them. And it's just, I suppose, the key to it is very quickly getting a system in place that's yours, based on kind of what you've taught, that you can identify if someone's serious or not. If they're serious, we move them to the next stage.
Yes.
If not, thanks very much, Jonathan. Great to speak to you. Don't think we can do a deal, but if you know anybody else that potentially wants to sell the business, please send them our way. And potentially, if we sign them up and all that kind of stuff.
That's actually a really neat way of generating future deal flow from the people that you don't buy from, asking them who else they know who might be interested in selling. But it is like a flowchart, isn't it?
Yeah.
If this happens, you do this. If this happens, you do that.
Yeah. And, when I was kind of, when I kind of made my first acquisition, it was on the back of, the wave. So it was, it was a good time to potentially start to acquire businesses.
When buying a business, you need a great lawyer on your team. So why not use mine? His name is John Andrews and his details are on the screen.
And again, now, we're on the back of a cost of living crisis, raw materials going up, utilities going up, fuel going up, massively impact businesses, their bottom line. Now is a perfect time. Do you know what I mean? And if you can't buy a business now, you'll never be able to buy one.
Well, it's interesting you should say that, because this is a theme that's been developing recently. Everyone I talk to says that 2023 is going to be an amazing year for savvy business buyers who know what they're doing. Because you've got to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But the opportunities are there, and you don't want to look back in 5 years' time and wish you wish you'd done it back in 2023.
And a friend of mine talks about shoulda, woulda, couldas. The people that sit there kind of 5 years from now and said, I remember that Jonathan J, or I remember that Adam Wills. If only I did it then.
Are those the same people who take their holidays on someday I'll? Someday I'll do this. Someday I'll do that.
Exactly. And it's the thing is, everyone's, in my opinion, everyone's born with the same amount of potential. We've got like if I can do it, anyone can.
Well, you're being very humble about it, but you have got an energy and an enthusiasm and a get up and go.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I think everyone needs to do that to be successful in anything in life. You need to sort of put yourself out there and actually go out and do it. And you built a sizable group, and I know that you've just completed on a deal of you tell us all about that business.
Yeah, so just completed on an accountancy firm down in the southwest. So our goal now is within the group is to effectively work with or target professional service businesses. So that could be lawyers, accountants, all that kind of stuff. And effectively we want to work with them, give them a bit of TLC, a fresh lick of paint, make some improvements, and build a decent group. So, we're working with Jeff Lerner, who you kind of introduced us to, great guy, and we're building the Pom Pom Accountancy Group. And this is our first acquisition in the Southwest. Yeah, well, Pom Pom stands for peace of mind. So it's kind of like
Right.
so it's the peace of mind group. So business down in Gloucester, great business, been going for some time. Focused predominantly on hospitality. So during it really got battered, really struggled and, just fell on some hard times. An investor or a group of investors took the business from administration, worked with the administrator, and they've now done a great job of bringing the business up to break even, making a small profit. And, they just want to kind of pass it on to a fresh pair of hands and
realise their investment.
Yeah, exactly. And it's and through this training, I'm now able to have conversations with these investors and work out a deal that works for them and also work out a deal that works for us. 2 years ago, I would never in my life thought I'm sat around a table negotiating a deal of a purchase of a business that's turning over almost £2 million and getting a deal that works for everyone. I think I'd be coming out not winning and they'd be winning.
Really, this has been quite a transformational 2 years, hasn't it?
It's been life-changing.
Yeah.
Life-changing. Like my partner says to me, we were talking the other night because I was saying I'm going down to do this podcast and all that kind of stuff. And like he was like, do you remember, Adam? He said, when we used to sit at home and all you ever used to do was talk about how you wanted to have a business. I was like,
oh, wow.
Yeah. And he went, now he said you can't move for businesses that you own.
But it's careful what you wish for, right?
Yeah. But
that is incredible because... I'm excited for you.
Yeah.
Because if this is something that you've always wanted, but you haven't had the route to get there, you now know that you can do this.
Yeah.
And you've just closed on a deal that's about 2 million, isn't it?
Just under 2 million
in annual revenue, and you've done bigger than that, and you will continue to do bigger than that, and then at some point you will have a cutoff where you might say, and this is my prediction, okay? You will say, I don't look at businesses that do anything less than 20 million a year.
That would be nice.
and then you'll be up into the 20s, the 40s, the 50s, because you'll realise that it's all about belief.
It is. You're 100% right. I never thought 2 years ago, the guy that sat there, and again, I'm not just saying this, never thought, sat at my dining room table and I had to make a decision whether I had the money to invest in your course, because obviously there is a cost attached. And you're thinking, well, bloody hell, do I have the money for this? And then you're thinking, right, yes, I do. And for the first 3 months, my return on investment was absolutely
zero, yeah.
Because I did bugger all. Do you know what I mean? And then actually, apply myself, and then things start to, go very well. And it's the mind fascinates me. And over the last 2 years, and I know I keep banging on about it, I've really worked on mindset, and I know you talk about mindset a lot, because my mind kept me stuck. And now, I feel I could talk to anyone. 2 years ago, I didn't have any contacts or anything like that. Now, like, we're understanding that we're coming into quite tough economic times. We've dipped our toe in the water. Well, I say dipped our toe. We built quite a sizable group in the personal insolvency space. Did very well there. And now we think, a lot of businesses are going to struggle. And I know I spoke to you about this at Mastermind. And now we're going to start to grow the corporate insolvency.
Yes.
And we'll use this as a vehicle to potentially get businesses that pre-insolvency actually could be turned around, so they don't go into an insolvency, and we can work with them. Or, if they are struggling, then we can work with them, put them into an insolvency, and potentially help them the other end as well. So lots of great opportunities have come from enrolling on this course.
No, that's fantastic. And I must admit, I didn't appreciate that there was a deliberation over the price and cost and value, and would you see a return on that? And I'm very glad that it's turned out so well for you. So you've learned a lot in a short space of time.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can help some people who are watching, listening to this, with the things that went through your mind at the beginning, how you overcame them, the things that held you back, maybe some tips and tricks for people who are still at the very beginning of their journey. Yeah. So let's start the ball rolling with what is, and I'm putting you on the spot now, what are the top 3 things that you've learned about buying a business that will be helpful to other people?
Okay, it's buy the right one.
Okay.
And I know that's blatantly obvious, but it's effectively following your kind of steps to acquiring a business.
So what is the right one? What are the boxes we need to tick?
So I suppose to get to the right business, you need deal flow. I send one letter out, I get one response, I've got one lead. I'm obsessed with getting that one lead across the line. But that might be an absolute basket case of a business, or it might not be it might not be good for me. Do you know what I mean? So whereas if I've got 10, 12, 15, 20 businesses, I can be more selective.
Yeah.
And also, don't think too small. I did it. Think too small.
Mm-hmm.
In my experience, acquire that business. You're either buying a job, problems, or a combination of both.
Yeah, probably.
Jobs and a problem. That's the one you don't want to kind of have. So it's right business, kind of deal flow. Don't think too small, and also deal team. So what can make or break an acquisition is those that help you get the deal over the line. Again, I've never used John Andrews. Used John Andrews on this recent transaction.
Oh, you have?
We did. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And that can be transformational, can't it?
100%.
When you've got a good lawyer on your side.
100%. And just off an acquisition now, I'm not that stressed. The other ones we've done, it's a nightmare. Do you know what I mean? And lawyers, on lunch, lawyers don't reply to calls. Lawyers,
you do not want to be chasing the person that you're paying.
Yeah, exactly.
To help you do the deal.
100%, absolute nightmare. So the deal team is important, and I'm not an accountant. I've made an acquisition very early on, and I just loved the business. And I love this business based on the brand, the logo, all this kind of stuff. It was a pile of crap. And if I had someone actually going through the numbers, looking at the numbers, picking out things that I just didn't see because I was so blindsided by this amazing business, I wouldn't have made that acquisition. And again, the 2 acquisitions I've had to effectively give away, and it was all good because I bought them on a deferred basis, were acquisitions where I followed this and not this.
You followed your heart rather than your head. So it's interesting, and of course, they didn't cost you anything.
Didn't cost me
anything. So you didn't lose anything. No. You lost some time.
Yeah.
But you gained experience. So you might actually say that the swap was not a bad one.
Yeah. Well, nothing happens by mistake.
You gained more experience than you lost in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's I think those are my 3 things that I think for me are key. And one thing I will say, that anyone that's watching this, anyone that's listening to it, if you've not run a business before, or you have self-doubt, 100%. You can do it. Like my partner says to me, he was like, Adam, if you can do it, anyone can. And we're trying to get Tom now. So
it's kind of a backhanded compliment,
I'm
isn't
like,
it? Yeah.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah.
Is it a compliment or isn't it a compliment?
Yeah. I'm taking it as one, but I don't think it's better that way. But like now with Tom, I'm saying to him, I was like, because he works for me, and that's not great. And I was like, why don't you give this a go? And he's like, well, can I? I was like,
interesting.
I was like, well, let's see.
Interesting. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe a different sector.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's... so
you're not competing
with each other. We're not
yeah.
competing. But, and the thing is, Jonathan, I think I said this at Mastermind, you can or you can't. And whatever you believe, you're right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think we do get stuck in this belief that we could only buy a business that turns over 150,000.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the upper limit of our financial world. Because most people, the biggest numbers they deal with are in their property, don't they? So they have a sort of cap on. Yeah, I live in a property of a certain value. That number's the biggest number in my universe.
Yeah.
Where when you realize that buying a larger business is not only easier, it's going to give you a better return, and the only thing standing between where you are now and buying that larger business is what's in your head, then for many people that realization takes the brakes off.
It does. And I think as well, it's like, well, certainly for me, I can only speak for me, I was thinking initially, like, a business that turns over, say, £200,000. You think £200,000 is a lot of money. £200,000 is turnover. £200,000 is not profit.
Exactly. And the owner might say we make 20%, but that's on a good year.
Yeah, and if it's 10%, it's 20 grand. You're probably paid more than that now.
Well, exactly. Where if you take that larger business, let's say the £2 million one, and that works on a 20% margin, there's 400,000. Okay, well let's say that's on a good year and it's 10% the rest of the time. There's still 200,000 pounds.
Exactly.
And after taxes, that money belongs to the shareholders. And if you are the shareholder, that is your money. And I don't think that's the link that people necessarily see. So basically, do you want a business that makes you 20,000 a year or 200,000 a year?
Exactly. And the thing is, what I've learned is in the acquisition space, in what you teach is we're here to solve a business owner's problem. Mm-hmm. Now, the majority of people we speak to, we cannot solve their problem, but 5% of the people that we speak to, we can. And we're in the business of helping people. That's how I see it, helping them and helping ourselves as well. And what we need to get our head around is the majority of people that we speak to, we won't buy their business.
Yes.
Small percentage we potentially will.
Yes.
And we're actually doing them a favour. We're helping them achieve something that they want to achieve. And they're doing it on the terms that we are happy to buy on.
Yes.
So it's win-win.
So it's a meeting of minds.
It's a meeting of minds.
You both get out of it what you want.
Yeah.
Everyone is generally happy with the outcome. What it feels like talking to you now is that you've got that whole attitudinal, self-limiting belief thing sorted.
Yeah, and I think probably today I've talked more about mindset than the businesses I've acquired. But
I think that's very interesting because you are right. That is what holds people back. It's not the mechanics of the process. The mechanics of the process are, we can write them down. We can say these are the 21 steps. Follow the 21 steps.
Yeah.
But it's actually getting started.
Yep.
It's dipping a toe in the water with that first conversation, overcoming the nerves that we might feel with that first conversation, negotiating the deal, looking someone straight in the eye and talking about money, telling them that their business is not worth millions of pounds, telling them this is how the deal is going to be structured, raising the finance, talking to the so it's all about belief and confidence, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like I say it's a difference between belief and faith. Like, so today, I have faith I can do this. I believe this works in the early days. I believe it works because you've done it And a load of people in the mastermind, they've done it. And unless you're paying 50 actors to turn up every month, and I'm the only one that's on your course, which you're not, by the way, people are doing it. So I believe they're doing it.
Yes.
But I just don't think I can.
Yes.
And what I had to get to over a period of time was, I believe it can be done, but I also have faith that I can do that. And that's kind of where I'm at today.
Yeah, very, very interesting. So what does the future hold then?
So, I mean, it's quite interesting because, it's a forever moving feast. So when I first started, I just wanted a business. And, probably over the last 2 years, we've done 6 asset purchases. We've bought 5 businesses, as in share purchases.
5 companies.
5 companies, yeah. So, yeah, it's an ever moving feast. But what I want to do now with Pom Pom Group is build, a group of businesses that specialise in roll-ups in the professional services space. Mm-hmm. So, we're working with Jeff in accountancy. Mm-hmm. We're speaking to somebody now. We just signed heads on a law firm, and we're speaking to somebody there that we want to partner with to be the face of it. Because what I found is in these industries, I send a letter out. I do get responses, but I'm not a lawyer. A lawyer sends the letter out, or an accountant sends the letter out. Next thing you know, you get loads of phone calls. So we're planning to partner with people and just build a professional services group.
Yeah, interesting. So I think that a theme that we've developed in our inner circle meetings, which you're now part of,
that's the next level.
Which is the next level after Mastermind for people who've bought a business. It's no longer how do I do it. It's how do I do it better? How do I do it faster? How do I do it bigger? How do I raise larger amounts of finance? How do I integrate businesses? Because that can be tough.
And, most of the problems that I have faced kind of post-acquisition is around people.
Yeah.
And getting this group of people here to work with this group of people here. It's a nightmare, if not done right.
Oh, yes. And I've done it right. And I've done it very wrong as well.
I know, you've told us.
And it's not as easy as putting a new name over the door. I mean, it's that cultural... you've got one group of people who leave at 5 o'clock on the dot, and you've got another group of people who work hard, play hard. And then you've got to put them together and make them work together. I mean, it's 2 different attitudes towards business and work. And how do you do that? But it's that integration piece is very underrated. Yeah. Because all the excitement is I want to buy the business, but really that's the easier part.
Yeah.
It's what do you do next, where the challenges can be.
And I think for us, we learnt the hard way here, because one of our acquisitions that we did very early on, it was an amazing business. It was really well run. Output was great. As soon as the owners left and we took over, it just bloody nosedived because the magic wasn't there. The owners were the magic. They were the glue that held the thing together.
Yeah, they never told you that, did they?
Never told us that.
Yeah.
But again, Jonathan, did I listen to what you said? No.
Yeah.
I mean,
to be fair, you're always going to have situations where owners over-egg it.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how you put that into a warranty. If you are the magic in this business, we will not give you your money. I mean, it's very hard to sort of to include that. So it has to be around facts and figures.
Yeah.
So those earnouts are a great way of doing it.
And I think as well, in going small, when you buy a smaller turnover business, smaller profits, all that kind of stuff, the owner is a big part of that business, if not the part of that business. Do you know what I mean? Whereas your bigger turnover businesses, your bigger businesses with bigger profits,
it's not going to rest on one person. So in the smaller businesses, the owner is the best salesperson, probably the only salesperson.
Yeah.
They deal with all the customer services and the issues and all of those things. They motivate the staff. They're there every day. And with the larger business, it can't rest on one person's shoulders. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So you want them to have broken through that barrier. So my focus with everyone in Mastermind in 23 is make your first acquisition $1 million plus.
Yeah. And I think that's imperative, because especially as well, with £1 million turnover business, let's just say profit margins are 20%. I'm just simple math, you know. So you got 200,000 there. They're going into uncertain times. Let's say that dips to 10%. Well, that's 100,000. Probably still can keep things going, you know. And we don't know what's around the corner. You've got a 500 grand business that's kind of profit margins of 20%. Well, that's 100,000. And then that goes down to 10%. That's 50,000. Paper thin margins.
And then
now.
you need to hire a new MD.
Yeah.
Who's on 65,000.
Yeah. That's it.
We're now behind.
That's it. And the thing is, it's just it's picking the right target from the start. Because the thing is, you know, I wasted many an hour speaking to the wrong type of businesses. And you send a letter out, people will phone you.
Absolutely. And to be fair, and to give you credit, at the start, no one knows. I mean, your conversation becomes more finely honed as time goes on. So you go straight for the jugular with the top 3 questions that you need to ask. Yeah. And if it's a no, then thank you, but goodbye.
Yeah.
Where you probably at the beginning we're too polite. We want to give them time. We don't want to mess it up. So we spend an hour on the phone with them, where we should have only spent 5 minutes.
5 minutes, yeah. And that's the thing. But that comes with time, and you know, and practice. And the hardest deal you'll ever do is your first.
Very true.
The second hardest is your second, and then from 3, it kind of it's habitual. Jonathan's on the phone. Hi, Jonathan. Take you through the questions. Thanks for your time, Jonathan. Right, Jonathan. I'm just got to ask you a little bit about this, a little bit about that. You know, and you just have a conversation, and very quickly you can ascertain after your 3rd deal. You know, is this a goer? Is the guy a time waster? You know, or is he serious? You know, and is this something we want to actually take on?
Yes.
Because you know,
and would you not say then that the worst person to run that business is typically yourself?
100%.
You don't want to be running it. You don't want to be operational.
Jonathan, I'll tell you now. My track record at running businesses, we've already discussed. 100% failure in startups. And, you know, one thing I'm very good at, I think, getting people enthused, picking the right talent, you know, getting them enthused about what we're about to do. But, you know, people that are good operators, you know, and, you know, I work very well with those people. So I'm very good at bringing teams together, but I'm not detail orientated. I'm not great in the trenches. I'm a million ideas a minute kind of guy. So, you know, to sit somewhere and just
Is this not about playing to your strengths?
Exactly.
So if you know that those are your strengths, then let's play to those strengths.
Yeah.
The things that you're not good at, let's get people who are good at them, because that's how you create a great business. It's when you're trying to do things that you're not good at, that's when it becomes stressful. You're not good at them anyway. That means they always take longer, they cost more money, and they just frustrate you and keep you awake at night.
Exactly. And the thing is, you know, around us now, we've got a really good team. You know, I've got a guy called Terry that works with me, amazing operationally. But, you know, Terry by his own admission, Terry does not like going out, speaking to business owners, trying to get business owners interested in selling.
Sure.
To us.
But he'll run the operations
100%.
of the business.
And when we get to due diligence, you know, he's an accountant, he's an FD, he's been COO of massive companies. You know, he's brilliant for that. I'm very personable with the owner. But once as he calls it, you know, the crap has been done. That's what he calls it. You know, once that's been done, and we've got someone that's serious, over to Terry then. And I turn up at these meetings and I'll have a cup of tea and, you know, have a chat. But
so, because I know sometimes people say, well, I couldn't buy a business because I've never run a business before. Well, you don't need to, because you're not going to be running it. That's the whole point.
That's the thing.
You're becoming a shareholder in a business, and as the shareholder, you get your share of the profits. If you're 100% shareholder, you get 100% of the profits. And other people operate and run the business, probably the same people who are operating, running the business before you bought it, and they just carry on. But you're the new. It's like becoming the new owner of a property, and the tenants start to pay you rather than the previous owner.
And it's, again, I was talking to my partner about this, and Tom was saying, so let me just ask you a question. He said, because this doesn't sound right. Is this the case? He was like, so you buy a business effectively on a buy now, pay later, and you're paying yourself a consultancy payment or a salary from day dot, and it's, you know, usually kind of somewhere around 6 figures. He was like, and the old owner is okay with that. I was like, well, one, the old owner isn't there because we've done this deal and they're now in the Caribbean or playing golf or spending time with the grandkids or whatever. And yeah, that's kind of what happened. And he's like, it just sounds too good to be true. I was like, doesn't it? But it's true.
So when people watch this and listen to this, they often are sitting on the fence.
Yeah.
And this is going out in January 2023, which, and I always say the beginning of the year is a great time to get started at anything, whether it's new diet, health plan, whatever it is. A great time to get New Year's resolution. Great time to get started.
Yeah.
And also, it's the time when a lot of business owners don't want to be going back to their business after the Christmas break.
Yeah.
So it's a very good time to find deals. So it's a great time to get started, but they sit on the fence and they say, do I do this? What would you say to those people? Because they're in the position that you were in 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I would ask them, look back 12 months ago. Were you having the same conversation with yourself last January? Okay. Tick, you were. What have you done in the last 12 months to change your life? If it's nothing, then again, it's that insanity thing, isn't it? Doing the same thing repeatedly, expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. Just do. So, it's like I've said before, if you can, you can. If you can't, you can't.
If you believe you can, you can. If you believe you
can't,
you're absolutely right, you can't. Yeah.
And also if you come into Mastermind or, any of your programs and you pay the the registration fee or whatever and do nothing, you will 100% get nothing.
Of course.
Because I've done it. Whereas if you come in, actually apply yourself, do what you say, don't waste 3 months like I did. Just get on.
Yes.
You'll get results. And the great thing is with Mastermind as well, which I loved, is that potentially you can find people there that you can partner with. You can, there's WhatsApp groups, there's, all sorts of kind of things. There's loads of support. And if you don't know the answer to a question, you or one of our peers or whatever, they're there to help. The LinkedIn community is like bloody, very active.
Yeah, it is. It's great. So it's all about you're not doing this by yourself.
Yeah.
Doing anything by yourself is hard.
It is.
But when you have support, like having a personal coach, we keep coming back to fitness, but having a personal coach, you become accountable.
Yeah.
And when you become accountable, you do more than when you are only accountable to yourself.
I'm 100%. And, and there's nothing worse, I say this all the time, than sitting there and you're seeing the people that have enrolled at the same time as you getting results. And you're like, why am I not getting results? Oh, yeah, that's because I'm not doing anything. Yeah. So, no, it works if you work it.
And on that note, Adam, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Love to have you back next year to find out what 2023 held for you. And,
cool.
And I'm sure it is great things. And I will see you at our next group meeting.
Fantastic. Cheers, Jonathan. Thanks.